Hello, good afternoon or good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to this session, the IEA session around climate change and circular economy. We're here to discuss with a very experienced and engaging panel of members to talk about the link between these two and also look through examples as to and explore the topic. So why are we here and what are we discussing is in the context of COP, Conference of Parties, as much as achieving all signatories to sign up to containing climate change at well below 2 degrees, preferably 1.5 degrees Celsius. The Paris Agreement, the toughest task is to enable decisive and impactful actions from every member, every signatory, to honor that commitment. And that is why, and by now you'd have gathered, that is a trending topic. We're already close to October, so it has to be a trending topic, COP26, for companies, consultancies, government, media, non-state actors, everybody. And it is scheduled to be held in Glasgow in November this year. As host, UK holds the COP presidency, and it has an ambitious goal for consultation, with the top item being the need to finalize the so-called Paris Rulebook, which is like a document that all the signatories will have, and they would set out how the countries intend to achieve Paris Agreement or to meet Paris Agreement. It will set out requirements on information, transparency, global stock take process, a number of other things. But there are 3 further goals. And so this is the topmost goal, 3 further goals around ensuring mitigation effects are stepped up. Then the second one around strengthening adaptation and resilience to protect all of us, or especially the most vulnerable regions of the world, to the impacts of climate change. And the third one is around mobilizing $100 billion in climate finance. So these are the top 3 goals. For purposes of today's conversation, we're going to focus on the first one, which is around ensuring mitigation effects to step up, that it is being stepped up. When you talk about GHG, greenhouse gas emissions, the first thing that comes to everybody's mind is energy. Energy as in fuel consumption, efficiency, and so on. I wouldn't say that's easy, but that's the top thing in everybody's mind. But the tough one, which is like hard to abate emissions, it arises from how we produce and consume food, goods worldwide. And it has a direct link to the manufacturing industry, agriculture, and therefore land use changes. So these are hard to abate emissions. They're called so because the link is complex. And to an extent, it is built on our habits as well, as in dietary habits. It could be consumption habits. It could be the way we produce goods. It's the way we package goods. It's the way we throw goods. So a transformation from linear economy to circular economy is the need of the hour. And it requires a huge effort from everybody, from us individuals, civil societies, government, investors, everybody basically, from all countries around the globe. So there have been a few sessions from IES around the topic of transformation itself. So if you had not seen them, I encourage you to look at the catch-up videos. Just go onto IES website. But here we have this panel discussion to talk about circular economy and its role in supporting climate ambitions. And our panelists here, they bring with them a varied background from academia, consultancy, and business. Definitely they bring with them interesting examples and experience to discuss. I'm keen to hear from our friends here about this this is a very huge topic. So whatever perspective they're going to bring. And personally, I feel thrilled because I've had hands-on experience on working in industry policies, setting up guidance, writing guidance when I worked in India. And my dissertation, master's dissertation around industrial ecology, where I did consult with UNIDO So that's the concept of industrial ecology is directly linked to circular economy. So to introduce, I am Kripa Dwarakanath, Associate Director within the Sustainable Infrastructure team at Jacobs. And I'm joined here by a fantastic panel comprising of Danni Bourne, she's Sustainability Consultant at Jacobs, Phil Sutton, who is the Founder and Technical Director at Econpro, and Sheryl Lee, Research Associate at Manchester Met University. So this topic of circular economy is huge, as you would have gathered by now. It cuts across a number of sectors like manufacturing, industrial manufacturing, cities, transport, agriculture, and so on. For today's discussion, we are keeping the focus on material manufacturing and its journey. So in that context, and we would try and go around the cycle, the whole circle of material. I would like our first panelist, who's Danielle. We call it Danni Bourne, bring her thoughts around the topic from a manufacturing angle. Danni, did you want to introduce yourself, please, and then talk us through maybe 5 minutes? Yeah.
Fantastic, thanks Kripa. So as Kripa already explained, I am a sustainability consultant at Jacobs. So I work with quite a broad range of clients globally, including companies, organizations, government agencies on sustainable infrastructure projects and circular economy approaches. I have an MBA, Master of Business Administration, with a focus on sustainability and circular economy. And I was also a researcher previously for the Next Leaders Initiative for Sustainability, based in Japan, again focused around resource use and circular economy approaches. As Kripa already mentioned, the transition from a linear to a circular economy means quite a significant mindset shift from take, make, and dispose, which represents that unchecked growth, to the reduce, reuse, recycle mindset required to stay within the planet's environmental boundaries. And let me give you an example of this. So prior to 1924, the average lifespan of an incandescent light bulb was around 2,500 hours. But in December 1924, a global organization known as the Phoebus Cartel hatched a plan to increase sales by bringing the average bulb's lifespan down to just 1,000 hours. And this began one of the first known examples of planned obsolescence. The Phoebus Cartel included manufacturers such as Osram, General Electric, Associated Electrical Industries, and Philips. So we're talking very big names who formed a supervisory body that would carve up the worldwide incandescent light bulb market, with each national, regional zone assigned its own manufacturers and production quotas. So this was the first cartel in history to enjoy a truly global reach. And these manufacturing giants tested bulbs and fined manufacturers for bulbs that lasted more than 1,000 hours, and the limits that they set. So that's 2.5 to 1,000 hours, increasing waste and resource use for the purpose of profit and ultimately hindering innovation and advancement. So this cartel's grip on the light bulb market lasted only into the 1930s, but its far more enduring legacy was to engineer a shorter lifespan for the incandescent light bulb. And though they'd been disbanded by 1940, they managed to align that market towards cheap and disposable bulbs and instill this profitability above progress mindset in suppliers as well. And this can be viewed as quite an instrumental setback, considering artificial light plays an indispensable role in the daily life of all human beings. I mean, look around you now. Like lighting accounts for 15% of global electricity consumption and 5% of worldwide greenhouse gas emissions as well. So it's fair to say that it's worth revisiting this history, not simply as quirky anecdotes from the annals of technology, but as a cautionary tale about the strange and often unexpected pitfalls that can arise from the linear economy. Like planned obsolescence is still around today. Just take a look at Apple, who have over recent years been smacked with class action lawsuits after they admitted slowing down older iPhones. Like this linear take, make, dispose mindset still persists. And to transition to a circular economy, a huge mind shift change and a great deal of business model innovation is going to be needed. But there are companies out there that are creating new business models that step away from this linear mindset. One example, again, in the lighting industry is an Irish startup founded in 2015 called Urban Volt. So they offer lighting on a servitization model, which sees companies innovate to compete through services rather than products alone. Urban Volt resolves the cost barrier of LED lighting upgrades by offering light as a service for corporate clients. So they provide LED installations at no upfront cost, and clients only pay for the energy as they consume it. So Urban Volt, how they profit is that they're paid a monthly fee by the client over usually a 5-year period based on the savings made from subsequent reduced energy bills. So this benefits the clients by removing the need for capital investment, but also during the contract term, Urban Volt covers any maintenance of light fixtures. So this incentivizes Urban Volt to eschew obsolescence in favor of durable lights. I mean, its most popular products actually last nearly 20 years under typical usage, so a very long time. And once the contract expires, the client keeps the fixtures and can pocket all the future savings or extend the service agreement at discount. So it's really win-win. And Urban Volt get to retain all the materials as well in their life cycle. Like 98% of everything Urban Volt replaces is recycled through WE. Through their retained control of the product, they're able to provide the customer with a demonstrable estimation of their carbon footprint. And Urban Volt have saved companies up to 80% on their energy usage. Like as of 2020, their clients were collectively saving 41,000 annual tons of CO2 emissions and counting. And I mean, this is all fantastic, win, win, win. But you're probably asking yourselves, how is what essentially a lighting distribution startup finding the capital to fund the purchase, the installation, the maintenance of lighting on contracts that take years to become profitable? Well, this is where things get really interesting, and the keys in financial instruments. So Urban Volt sells packages of receivables from projects, which are obviously the reductions in the energy bills to the end customers, to funds. And with the purchase price of those receivables, Urban Volt refinances itself and frees up its equity and can invest this money again into new products. So we're looking at a model where their clients make money immediately, where Urban Volt make money immediately, the lighting manufacturers make money, the investment funds make money, and the whole way along that value chain, we've created profits, we've created benefits, and no one's actually asked for any money up front at any point. It's all being funded by those energy savings. I mean, the challenge of adapting circular economy principles and ridding systems of obsolescence is the perceived declines in costs that come with shifting to a circular economy model. But Urban Volt have created a model where the entire supply chain is able to profit from its products and business model. So servitization may really be that much needed answer to a century-old dilemma that we're facing here. And during our age of accelerating technological advancement, it's increasingly important for businesses to embrace such innovative models and avoid repeating those century-old mistakes over and over again. And, you know, Urban Volt, they mark an early example of deploying circular concepts in the form of a service contract, but it demonstrates some of the mindset shifts and even systemic change that is needed for a circular economy. So this obviously also touched on green finance, as the novel business approach has created a blueprint for even conservative investment funds to buy the receivables of projects from small companies that would have traditionally been perceived as high credit risks. Like, for Urban Vault to successfully scale the model, they will need to gain the trust of more investors through demonstrated profitability. But if successful, this in itself also provides a solution that has the potential to fund a large share of the future energy efficiency market, which to date has been neglected. So very big change is needed.
Oh, typical. Didn't unmute myself. Wow, Danni, that was it was just like I mean, the Phoebus carton was, that's a shock. That's just hear it for the minutes. But if we talk about just Urban Vault itself, it's nothing to do. I mean, it has everything to do with the products, with the product design, and then how do you, and the whole concept of circular economy, but also in the context of money, investing money or reinvesting and so on. That's just incredible. And this whole servitization model is what, how is it? Do they work in Ireland currently, or are they like worldwide? Do they operate? Do the service? I mean,
they're offering with clients globally.
Oh wow!
Yeah, global clients based out of Ireland. Very much a growing business.
Lighting as a service rather than a capital. That's and also it takes your mind off, isn't it? I mean, which bulb do I choose for this room or that whole area? But you just transfer it to somebody, and not just, and also at the same time save money.
Exactly. And I think we're seeing more kind of servitization models like this coming about. Like it's the same as where you've got things like technology rentals instead of buying, clothes sharing services. Like these kind of models are really needed to fuel the circular economy and keep resources in use.
Yes. Keep the cycle going, isn't it? Yes, I've seen a few good fashion brands who started using renting services.
And
services. So it's like, bring it back, and because I mean, how many times I would be wearing the same blouse? Someone else could. So that's great, and the whole, and it's not just the whole idea of this and all that, but in terms of how it interests investors is also an important thing. It's the demonstrability, isn't it? It's demonstrating how much carbon emissions save and so on. That's important because it's visibility. If you're an investor, it's the numbers as well that matters, I guess. Any thoughts from Phil, Sheryl?
Thank you. I've seen the model with office furniture, and even down to flooring and carpets, so you can have tiles instead of carpeting a whole area, and the service come along and just replace the high impact areas. So it's really, really clever. But on a personal note, as a consumer in the home, we needed to replace our washing machine, and being really for the circular economy, I wanted to rent one, as I think I did 25 years ago when I was a student, first time around, 20 years ago. But it seems it's not financially viable at the moment for individuals to rent, white goods for their home. And yet we would have gone down that, because to me, it's again, win-win. Manufacturers build to last because it costs them less in the long run, because they're sending out engineers less often into your home. It's less intrusive on us having to constantly swap every few years these fairly high priced pieces of equipment. So we went down the repair route for ours, which worked out for us. But it was just a shame that there wasn't this service option for individuals with goods in their own home. But I think it got us looking at how expensive is it for an organization to set up. And actually, I suppose with your example, it was a win-win for everyone involved. But for an organization to set up a rental business for individuals, let's say for a washing machine, it's very expensive output initially for them, and also it doesn't work out financially for the individuals. So I'm not really sure how without policy from government or maybe some sort of financial input to get these industries up and running, that we could actually see it working more often, should I say.
Yeah, I think it's a very relevant point, that, Sheryl. I think for me, extended producer responsibility will be a key driver for change and commercial model change. I see this very much within our own business at the present moment. Circularity, it at last has come to the heart of business, and we've seen organisations such as BlackRock divesting from, oil, carbon-rich business, hydrocarbon-rich businesses. And I think new circular economy models will emerge hopefully through the emerging new environmental bill that's coming through at the present moment. And we're seeing 3 pieces of key legislation, especially in plastics, which carpets actually fall within. Ironically, we operate the UK's largest carpet recycling facility at Deeside, where I'm based today. We recycle 25,000 tonnes of post-consumer carpet is being recycled outside these office walls at the moment into very limited markets. Whereas if once design changes, and hopefully this is what we'll see with the EPR to push around to support circular models, where we'll maybe start to see more mono materials coming in design and development. Currently, we work with a plethora of materials. If we take carpet in isolation, plethora of materials in there, extremely difficult to separate and recycle. Whereas if a circular model is developed in the point of single monostream materials, whereas we could adopt polypropylene carpets or full PET carpets, that's the opportunity to fully put them into a circular model. They become highly valuable to the recycling sector. Whereas currently at the moment, we as an organisation, they go to they're diverted from landfill, but they're certainly not put into a circular model. It's something that we're looking to invest into at the present moment. Finding investors into that is becoming, I suppose, more interesting now, because there are certainly the manufacturers who seem to, it's on their agenda now. And literally 2-3 years ago, they were not interested. Now it's very much, how can we reclaim our materials? And hopefully through a strong EPR policy, that'll be hopefully get royal assent in the autumn, we will maybe start to see the opportunity for more circular models in many manufacturing sectors emerge.
Thank you, Phil. And yes, I think that EPR was a most important thing, isn't it? Extended producer product responsibility. That's
right. Yeah, extended producer responsibility.
Producer responsibility. Sorry, who? Oh, well, in this global world where someone else produces and we consume here, who should initiate? Sorry, I haven't introduced you. I'm conscious I haven't introduced you yet. Phil is our next speaker, founder director, Polytac here. And Phil, do you want to just give a quick introduction? And my question, my thing was around, in this whole global world where we don't even know where it's produced, how do we implement? Who should ask for EPR?
Hi, Kripa. Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Phil Sutton. Bit of background to me. I'm a chartered scientist by background. 20 years in the recycling industry. I have the grey hairs to show for it. I founded the company called Econpro 20 years ago. Econpro, we have several multifaceted businesses, really. We manufacture recycled polymer curbing systems for the UK highways networks. So we have now 1 million products installed in the UK highways networks, which are made from recycled post-consumer plastics instead of concrete. So we drive down about 40% reduction in carbon emissions compared to precast concrete products. We manufacture those in 2 sites. We have a site in Kings Lynn, down in Norfolk, and a site in Iași, in Eastern Europe, in Romania, that supplies our European sector. But where I'm based here, Deeside, this is the UK's largest post-consumer carpet recycling facility. As I say, we recycle about 3.5 million post-consumer carpets a year, but we make them into fuels for the cement industry. So we make what we call an SRF, a solid recovered fuel, which is used as an alternative to fossil fuels, mainly gas. It's a substitute for gas, natural gas. And then the business I'm here to talk to you about today is our fledgling innovation business called Polytac. So my background being in the recycling industry for many years, I've worked for many material recovery facilities operated by local authorities and other framework providers. And one thing that was always very apparent to me, we're never going to move into a circular system without transparency. So brand owners in the FMCG sector, are, they're all focused on their own self-interest, really, is the truth of the matter. And I think once we start to understand the circular economy can't operate like that, it has to be very much an engaged community, and everybody buys into that. And that means at every point of the cycle of a product, there has to be engagement from manufacturers to consumers to recyclers, regulators. It has to be a very open and transparent system. So if you went to build a material recovery facility today, they'd mostly still install the same kit that they installed 20, 30 years ago. So the whole concept of the Polytac concept is what we're talking about today, is where we give unique identities to every package, every single component of manufactured product can carry a unique identity. So we've teamed up with GS1, which is the GS1. If you don't know GS1 issue every barcode in the world. Every barcode on every product has what they call a SKU, and that's issued by GS1. So we're working alongside them, and we're utilizing their GS1 digital link technology, which enables unique barcodes to be applied to every item of product during manufacture, either direct to substrate on components or within the labeling design. We design that in the point of, it's basically in essence a QR code or a data matrix code. So to move away from the 1D code, so if you see that stripy barcode that you swipe at the till, that's a 1D technology. It was implemented in 1968. And 2D codes now, which are all, I think, one thing out of COVID we've all seen is learned how to scan codes and 2D codes. So we developed a technology that enables us to print unique codes, issue unique codes to brand owners, populate them within our cloud, and then they are scanned by consumers. So one of the big drivers for us and why we're doing that and why we think it's worthwhile to do that, as part of this environmental bill that I mentioned earlier, we are in the UK, we will be introducing a deposit return scheme for plastic containers. They will be all containers that fall within scope. So that's anything up to 3 litres drink container will fall within scope of a deposit return scheme. So what that will mean is every drinks container that you consume either on the go or at home, instead of going in your curbside recycling, you have to take back to your point of purchase. So it starts in Scotland in July next year, and the UK will that could actually move back. There is discussions that it's going to move back to all devolved governments align with UK policy. So that would now enable that if you have your soft drinks containers or beverage containers, they have to go back to placed in a reverse vending machine. So every container will carry a 20p deposit, and that's supposed to push people to go back to reverse vending machines that will be placed at supermarkets. There'll be 50,000 machines they're looking to deploy. It's going to cost the UK taxpayer about 11 billion over 9 years. So what we did with Polytac, we thought, well, we could assist with that with digital technology, as I say, with embedding these unique codes onto containers and allowing them to be scanned by consumers at home and then put into their curbside recycling. So that container's unique code then pairs with our cloud to say it's been recycled and the deposit is redeemed. So to that end, we as we're based in Wales here in Deeside, this is in Wales, the Welsh government is an extremely proactive government in recycling. They currently hold the 3rd spot for recycling in the world, the greatest recycler, 3rd greatest recycler in the world. Their ambition is the Beyond Recycling campaign is to get to number 1. So they believe by further engagement with consumers, regulators, recyclers like this, we can incentivize people to recycle more, and more information that we can provide them about not, scanning that code just won't redeem a deposit. Through Digital Link, it allows you to look at the calorific content of that product, the recycled content of that product, the carbon footprint of that product, where that product originated from. So a great deal of data information. Food allergens can also be contained within that code. And we believe we've just concluded a trial with the Welsh Government and Conway Borough County Council and 300 households up in Conway, the district of Wales. And we achieved nearly 90% recycling rates with our technology. So a report will be published in the coming weeks. And without doubt, the engagement from consumers and RAP, the Waste Resource and Action Programme, also supported the development in ethnology studies to see what consumers thought of it. And by far they thought this was a tremendous concept where they could learn so much more information about the products they're consuming and using and the life cycle of those products. And then further down the cycle, as they're then collected, we install machine vision capability systems and train neural networks using AI to recognize, and we'll know exactly by composition, by brand, instead of this very linear count that happens at the moment, because they're separated by material type only. But we're able to tell brands where their materials are, and this will again further support EPR function that's coming into place in part of that wide environmental bill. So there's a whole plethora of new legislation that's coming through, which I'm very, very hopeful that will start to aid and support a circular packaging economy. And I think once we can, because all this came up since the Attenborough effect, realistically, that people have become so engaged in plastics. And hopefully, with technology such as Polytac, they're able to support, we're not just centric to plastics and packaging, we're also very interested in seeing what we can then support in the carpeting industry, because that is one of the key focus for our business, and where we can tag and trace using RFID and Yagi antenna systems within our facilities. When a carpet's recycled, we know what's in that carpet, we know exactly its material composition. And only by having that material composition and data can you really truly create a circular economy. You need to know what's in that material and how that material is created. And so that's what we're very hopeful that Polytac can start to develop and support in the future. So that's what we're doing with Polytac, and I'm more than happy to take any questions on that.
I have a few questions actually, all the way through. There's so much information, but it's a really exciting piece of technology that can really change the face of recycling, especially if we can get it on pretty much all packaging. It'll help with separation technologies, very much so. If we can get packaging down to single types of material, then that would just change the face of recycling and waste that's being produced in the UK. You'll have to come back to me. I'm sorry, my brain's gone blank for a second there. I was just too excited. I think the deposit return scheme as well. This is great that it will be able to be used in the home, because my biggest worry is local authorities fund a lot of their services on the material that they sell and the quality of that material. And if the deposit return removes an awful lot of the easy to recycle plastics from the curbside, local authorities are going to suffer. And I think there has been a bit of criticism about the DRS that it will cost an awful lot of money, as you explained, for a service that actually we've got a pretty good service in the UK already for plastic. It's getting the hard to reach plastics. I think it's going to do wonders for littering. It's going to take a lot of the bottles that we see on the streets and put it back into the system. But actually being able to now use that system at home so we can then use it in the curbside recycling, I think is going to do wonders for the system, really.
Yeah, Sheryl, I think your points are absolutely right. I think the local authorities are, somewhat fearful. I know LARAC, the Local Authority Recycling Association, is very concerned about the value that's generated from curbside recycling being lost to a DRS system. Hence, our support of the system, the point of a digital system that it allows 28 million households basically to become return points, and actually adding value to that curbside recycling infrastructure, because I think it's the results that we've seen from what we've done with the Conway trial, Conway pilot, is, and the next stage will be to integrate the AI technology at MRF now. So when those collection curbside vehicles come back to the MRF, we can collate that data set, what's being collected in a day. So then we know we get bale compositional analysis. So instead of here's a PET bale, we see very much of creating like a standards and poor type rating. So as the material comes down the conveyor to the baler, it can recognize they do mixed plastic bales there, but we're able to tell what brands in there, what materials in there, and also what contaminants in there. So if it's for whatever reason the contamination level's a bit high, maybe it's not advisable to send that bale abroad. Export is still a big part of the UK waste and recycling infrastructure. We won't be able to get away from that for many years to come. But if that bale has too much contaminant, that has to stay in domestic recycling policy, because at least we know it's going to be dealt with properly, and we're not going to see those residues, unfortunately, not managed well once they go abroad. So only when the bale quality is right, or with the introduction of the AI systems, we can then support robotic systems in there that can target non-target materials. So we can take out, if there's flexibles or card or fiber in there that's contaminating that bale, they can be removed and put into the relevant sections of the MRF. And but we really do think, with greater transparency, greater consumer engagement, because one thing that I think is very apparent to us during the trial, speaking to people on the ground, consumers really want to do, I think, the best they can. I think that was one thing that came out strong. The message from the guys we had on the ground, from reasonable net high value households to low value, right through the economic scale. Everyone wants to try and do the best they can if the information is available to them. A lot of people just don't know what is recyclable. They think it's plastic. There might be a multifilament pouch, which currently is not particularly well recycled. And I know we've got OPRL, the on-pack recycling label, but to have that real granular data and also support many other challenges that of food waste and things like that, which all add to climate warming. It's the point of just understanding what's in those products. And we do think with the Polytac system aligned to GS1 digital link, we can start to put those building blocks in place. And I think it's vitally important that we do this.
It could also be used, like you were saying, for carpets. If you go one step further with ownership details, maybe we could use it to investigate fly tipping,
Exactly.
Actually go back to the owner. Where's your waste transfer note? Where did you give it? Who did you give it to?
Exactly.
We can then really sort of start to find out that chain of custody of materials, can't we?
Absolutely. I think this is, it's absolutely key, as I say, data is key to all this. Without strong data, we can't make the commercial decisions that we need to make. I think there's, I personally, I think, from what I'm hearing now, it's great to actually hear it. There are investment blocks that are sitting there, organisations that want to make investments into recycling, but without empirical data that we can support to say, well, listen, you can see there's a void here that with technology that we fill, that data set then becomes so strong and important, especially for the FMCG industry, because they're going to be responsible for this EPR policy. They will be, polluter pays is the new policy. So they're going to be sitting there with their checkbooks open in some respects, saying, well, okay, to the scheme administrator, we've now got to pay X MRF or, from where's our material? What material of ours have they recycled? And without technology such as AI and, unique identification that can be read with machine vision, they won't be able to give them accurate data. But once they know that accurate data, they'll think, well, this is really interesting. We're seeing 30% of our material in this MRF. We need to try and get that out to support our 30% recycled content. So I think if you can get everyone's going to be challenging for 30% recycled content now because of this plastic packaging tax, which again is part of the environmental bill. But my concerns would be, that's all well and good if you're a massive FMCG business. You can just hoover up, production of you know, plastic recovery facilities, materials, food grade, like that. No problem at all. Get your checkbook out. We'll have everything you produce. But how's that transfer? How's that fair to the smaller operators, the SMEs of the world, who don't have that and give brand choice for consumers? All of a sudden, they're going to be the guys who are going to be saying, well, I'm going to have to pay the £200 a ton tax because I can't get recycled content if I wanted that. Whereas a system using machine vision would say, we've seen brand A, X amount today, X amount brand B, and then a cooperative maybe of smaller brands that are allowed to procure 20, 30% of that feedstock, or, you know, allocate 30% of that feedstock to them. So everybody gets their fair share of what they've placed on the market, they take back out. And I think, you know, transparency, you know, I just find it amazing when I walk around FMCG production facilities. They are fully automated, data, and then it goes into the hands of the consumer and literally, you know, can be, you know, if you look at, you know, milk bottles and things like that, you know, within a week, they can be back in the recycling stream, and it's just not dealt with in the same manner as the FMCG industry. So we have to continue that data flow. You know, that data has to continue, and then with those building blocks, I think we can have a good chance of trying to build a, you know, a packaging circular economy, and hopefully that will be, you know, once we've conquered that, we can move on to other materials and start to, you know, knock down the other obstacles, and, you know, good design as well, mono materials will, you know, really aid, you know, circular economy.
Wow, that was well, it's like data is king, isn't it? And yes, there is, and it's also it's like learning from that FMCG industry that you're talking about, that superimposing that learning in, like bringing into your household, basically. That's what you're talking about. When you started explaining the concept of bringing back, you know, materials to recycling and all that, my mind went back to an example from a Brazilian city called Curitiba. This was like many years ago. I learned that the mayor, I think he was an urban planner, I guess, went for an incentivization package where people can literally bring back their bags of recyclable materials for exchange of bus tickets. So that way he hit two things, public transport as well as, but that was like a very rudimentary way of doing, like people literally, but what you're saying is exactly that in some forms, maybe because there's an incentivization side of things. But the key difference is data. You create data, harvest data, use it even smartly, and then keep changing, upskilling. But the only thing I had in my mind was all this would require to some extent upskilling in terms of workforce, or would the current workforce be able to just do it? Or will it require a completely different set of skills to operate in the future?
Well, I think for me, Kripa, the benefits of Polytac is it's seamlessly integrated into their current systems. So, for example, if you're a brand owner and you're producing soft drinks bottles and you've got a PP label on that soft drinks bottle, we digitize that label at their printers. So when the spools of labels are delivered to them, they're already pre-serialized, so there's no change to the FMCG industry at all. You know, we've developed what we call thermal inkjet systems that create that unique 2D code in a piece of the artwork. So the artwork for the labels just has to slightly change, creates a little white block, and we can hit that as these labels come down to the spools to be split, we can create that unique serialization within that white area created in the label. So once they're applied to the bottles, there's a very simple machine vision camera, which is big as a matchbox, that just activates the code. It tells our cloud that is now on a bottle and it's activated. So it goes and just populates our cloud to say, right, it has a 20p deposit ready on to be redeemed. You know, we're still looking if we're going to use that in 2D data matrix or QR. QR, you don't even need an app. You just open up your camera, scan it, and it will take you to a drop-down menu. So you can say, well, okay, if it's an in-scope container, it will have a deposit return, which you'll click on, and that will then take you to the app to scan your deposit. And we have a digital wallet in that app, which allows you to collect your things. So is there going to be a great deal of change, mindset, skill set, upheaval in skill set requirements? I don't think so. I think, I think it's incremental changes, iterative engineering changes, small changes in industry. And we've taken a lot of time to look into each sector and say, well, okay, what would we need to do to achieve this? And it's quite remarkable, really, when you look over the walls of industry, different sectors, how quickly that is just being concluded by the Welsh Government and will be circulated in the coming weeks. We'll send to IES, and you can see how the FMCG sector engaged with Polytac, how the label manufacturers engaged, how the how the consumers engaged, how curbside collection vehicle had an integrated machine vision camera on it to scan the code on the box and redeem the deposits back to the consumers and the households. And then the last part that we'll be doing is installing, and it's again this AI piece. We're working very closely with the Advanced Manufacturing Research Centre of the University of Sheffield at Airbus and Broughton, where we developed, it literally is just a bunch of cameras and lights, and it sits in a little hood that's retrofitted over a conveyor, very easily done, installed in a day, and that completes the circle. That will tell us where those bottles have ended up and generate a tag to go onto the bale to say what's in that bale by brand, by manufacturer, and increases the value of the bale for the local authority as well. And they'll know how to clean up their bale. So they are just incremental changes, and hopefully they'll be integrated seamlessly, and we'll see a much better system and build from there.
Really, you're quite, we could talk about this for the rest, isn't it? Clearly quite passionate and quite an interesting one as well. And that brings us to Sheryl. Sheryl Lee's probably one of the favorite subjects. It's around waste and recycling. And Sheryl probably has been itching to talk about, and thanks for your contributions through Sheryl. If I could invite you to talk about your concept around circular economy and in the context of climate change, or
I'm a research associate at Print City at Manchester Metropolitan University, and we have several research projects on the go at the moment, which kind of fits all things recycling, circular economy. It's basically taking resources and either upcycling or recycling using different methods. So I'm managing a project at the moment that, in a nutshell, is trying to use demolition waste to substitute sand and mortar for 3D printing. 3D printing is turning a digitized 3D image into a physical object by adding layer upon layer of material. Just the actual process itself produces less waste. If you were to, use traditional methods to make concrete objects, you would either be producing a cast, which is quite costly and timely, and there's quite a bit of waste with that. 3D printing kind of allows you to do all different kinds of shapes within certain constraints. But it's a very interesting piece of technology, and it's very exciting to be involved in. We've got another couple of projects as well that's turning municipal plastic waste. It's upcycling it into plastic filament as well for 3D printing. And then another project which is called Share Repair. And this is looking at printing objects to repair in the household. So let's say your handle goes on your washing machine, we can print a new handle. You can use all different types of materials as well. So really smart materials, thermo materials, so it's definitely safe for the object in mind. But going back to the initial conversation about, the sort of servitization business model, there's also share and repair. It's not share and repair, but repairing industries as well, which is really seeing a resurgence in recent years, which I personally find quite refreshing and really satisfying, fixing equipment before just throwing them away. And I think going down the modular route with design, it goes back to the beginning. We need to design out waste to begin with. We need to design things for easy repair. So with, let's say, a washing machine, you either just take out the section that is the brain and put a new brain in while you go and refurbish the old brain for a different piece of equipment. And that's really where, you know, I think we need to change behavior as well. We need to get people not just to upgrade because the new shiny phone is out, but they're upgrading because they need to upgrade. The amount of people who have stacks of old mobile phones in their home. I remember reading once that actually we have all the resources to produce enough phones for everyone. It's just that we have to keep on mining for more because people are holding on to their old computers and phones. And so we need to like mine the urban environment to actually get people to let go of that. And there's all kinds of different behavioral issues around that. So people are scared to let go in case there's personal data on there. They also think maybe there's possibly an increased value the longer they hold on to them. You know, those PlayStations are going to earn them some money in 50 years times maybe on eBay. You know, there's a whole manner of reasons that people won't let go. And we need to sort of retrain or rethink how we supply those to people, give them an incentive to let go again, or give them a guarantee that their data is safe, you know, somehow understand why people are not recycling or repairing, and then try and either make it more profitable for them or just more appealing, full stop. Yeah, I can take questions about our research projects if anyone's interested. I was quite surprised with SOMAP actually when I first started researching sand. It's not my, I don't have much experience in concrete or sand, so I was quite overwhelmed by the amounts we use. We mine 50 billion tons every year worldwide, and it has a value of $14 trillion. It's I do apologize, $14 billion. I get my trillions and billions mixed up occasionally, but it is enormous. And I think although it is, there's sand everywhere, we can't just use any old sand in the construction industry. It has to be certain kinds. So if we could use desert sand to build buildings en masse, that would be really helpful, but we can't. So we have to dredge it, or we have to mine it from quarries, and this has huge impacts on local environments and ecosystems. It has to be transported. With the population of the world ever increasing, and more people are living by themselves rather than in homes with more than 2 or 3 people, you're looking at, for every one flat now, they all need a kettle, they all need a washing machine, and so the requirements to produce all these goods are forever increasing, and more people are living in urban environments. Therefore we need more sand to make more concrete, to make more buildings, more roads, more glass. There's just an ever increasing need for more, and what we need to do is either produce that more through recycled materials, or we just keep on taking from the natural environment, which will eventually just not be able to produce the amount we need. It's quite astonishing really that there are land grabs going on over in India, illegal land grabs, because the government have put restrictions on the amount of sand that's coming from marine environments. And this is displacing entire villages. Even in the UK, the quarries are growing in size, so they're encroaching upon urban environments, and the noise and dust can be an issue, even if you can't see it, because there are visual screens behind these places. So SOMAP, the project that I'm managing, is really looking to take demolition waste and try to see if we can repurpose it to substitute sand. And at the moment, we can't do that in construction because there's such tight controls over the standards and the quality of material that needs to go into construction. So we're looking to do street furniture at the moment, whatever that may be, or for artistic purposes. But the idea is that we're trying to perfect the mortar, which could then be used later on in other research. And potentially the dream of the future would be if we demolish an old building, can we actually reuse all of that material on site for the next project? So then actually that takes away the transportation, it takes away the need for new materials. And so we really are closing that loop and making it circular. Yeah, which will obviously have, so yeah, Phil.
Sheryl, sorry, can I ask, within the project, are you doing any research on binder technologies, or are you still just using cementitious?
So we will be expanding into that. Yep, we're still in the early stages of the project, so we're still kind of characterizing the cementitious materials coming off site that is also mixed up with other materials such as brick, and that will clearly have an effect on the amount of cement we put in. But we are potentially looking into other avenues, because I do know things like paper mills, their waste products are actually quite cementitious with their characteristics. Did you have something in mind?
Yeah, and it's really interesting point you're saying. We're down the road from UPM, and we've seen some of their output materials that are absolutely have very cementitious type properties. You know, so the facility at Manchester, have you got working prototype systems that you can do 3D print of size construction products?
So the printer we will be getting is a robot arm that can print approximately 1 meters cubed, but we can print modular and we can add it together. At the moment, we're kind of lab based, but we will be looking to expand potentially, or working with industry if they would like to expand, and maybe we could go around, that route together.
Very, very interesting, because I'm absolutely a supporter of on-site construction as well, and mitigating. There's so many benefits to modularity. As you were saying about modularity construction, off-site construction or on-site construction, and there's certainly some construction partners we're talking to are very interested to see what the next scale of technology is coming out. 3D printing is certainly one thing that we've identified as an interesting technology, depending on binder and the binder technology, especially olefin type binder technologies, because if you think of the polyolefin film issue that we have in the UK, absolutely fantastic binder technology, olefin, if measured properly and utilized. So no, it'd be great to catch up and see if there's any synergies and nothing we can do collectively. Brilliant.
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. Now you're I was quite thanks, Sheryl. Actually, you have summed up a whole conversation in a few words, which was around the need to look at new business models and the behavioral change aspect of it, which is huge. And I couldn't agree with you more on that one, especially to think about resource as it's limited, to have that concept in mind, and then revolve our arrange our lives around that. I mean, wouldn't that be a wonderful world? But I was quite interested in the 3D printing, but and also the demolition project you were talking about. So coming from as a consultant working with engineers specifically on major infrastructure projects, demolition is a big item, and then it's that first of all processing and finding out which ones are the it's like materialized. What's the term for that? To categorize the materials, which ones could be reused and so on. That's one. But the other big challenge, if you like, is around where to store it till you can reuse it, if you were going to reuse it in the same building. That is a huge area, especially if you're talking about London, for example. And then the cost of transporting it and bringing it back, and the time, there are a number of things, but that shouldn't be a reason for not exploring things like the 3D printing example. That I was quite amazed how nice would it be to just fix the handle or a blind actually I'm refusing to change the whole blind because the rest of it is good. It's only the track that's not working. And I just couldn't find anybody to do the tracks for me. It's just the repair culture as well has to like seriously be stepped up.
I think, yeah, the larger manufacturers are definitely looking into this technology. The legislation changed recently where the producers of have to hold spare parts for 10 years. And this is going to be very costly for them. And who's to say that these spare parts would even be used in the end anyway? So actually being able to perfect 3D printing so they can print on demand these spare parts. I know IKEA are looking at producing some of their, or have done, producing some of their G codes or C codes, GC codes for their parts that they can then provide people so they can print their own screw if it's missing from the kit, or, you know, rather than going for another journey to go pick it up or get it sent to them by post, it's instant. And maybe in the future what we'll see are small printing workshops to service several streets, or, you know, and if we need a spare part for a tool or anything like that, rather than throwing away the piece of equipment, we can just repair it ourselves or take it to that that service hub to then get someone who has the skill to repair it for us.
Yeah, it's again change in the way civil societies could help there, and there's where this whole thing, when I started saying it can't be one person, it can't be the government alone, it can't be the investors alone, it's a collective effort. Danni, did you have any questions at all? So we're coming to a close here. If you did have any comments, or otherwise I would wrap up the session.
No, I think it's very, very interesting, again, with the 3D printing as well. I think my thoughts with the 3D printing, though, it is going to require the manufacturers to be on board, because for them to give out the 3D prints of various components of their pieces, a lot of it's going to cross a lot of IP, and you've got the question of, are you going to give out 3D print medals for all the replacement parts if it's an item that someone could just print off and make together themselves? So
I think yeah, this is definitely where licensing comes in. I know some of the larger manufacturers, they have their own printers, so they train their own staff, because what you don't want is someone untrained and unskilled printing a vital part of a piece of equipment, which potentially could be printed either with the wrong material or in the wrong size, therefore making that or whatever they're fixing dangerous, explosive, catches on fire, you know, all of the above. It's got to be a monitored and regulated industry. And it's getting there. I mean, the size of it is growing exponentially, and the government are definitely interested. They're investing. So I think this could potentially be the future. And if we could guide it now in a circular way, use it for the good, you know, make sure the materials are coming from the recycled background, you know, all this kind of things, just to take into consideration. Now is the time we could really have an effect on a circular economy within the 3D print industry.
Well, that's I could be here for longer. It's just such an interesting and all the like varied examples, but of equal interest. I'm just conscious that unfortunately we have to wrap up. I wish I could stay for longer here, but thank you all for your contributions. Basically, what we all agree or discussed was around the need for transformation, the need to have that change in terms of various business models and the way we work and the way we network with each other to make it happen now, isn't it? And also the behavioral change side of things, as much as there's that element, and there is this data, creating data, that's another part. And innovation is has to be constant as you go along the process of manufacturing and reuse and so on and so forth. It's been just As I said, I wish I could stay for longer here to keep talking to you all, but thank you all for your interesting, for your thoughts, and also for bringing in all those interesting ideas to talk around this topic, circular economy and its role in supporting climate ambitions. Thank you. I'll just go by who is on my screen, Danni, Sheryl, and Phil. Thanks all.
Thanks very much. It was really good to meet you all.